That and the other problem is a stadium. Where
Yeah.
you're going to play. There's a lot of stadiums over there, but are they going to have a place where, unlike soccer, it's a little bigger stadium, a little bigger, where you can have more people involved. Most of the soccer stadiums are 20 to 30,000 people. There are from some 50 and 60, but few. We're here, it's 65,000 is about what you're gonna use, 54 to 65,000. And of course,
So you're an agent, and you go and see your players. How excited would you be to want to go? Hey, I want to go over. I want to go over and
well,
see you in London or Spain or
well,
or Germany.
and that there's a problem. See, now you're in Utah, so how hard is it for you to go over to Europe, where I'm on the East Coast? It's not that far.
Yeah.
One of the things we've seen with the Japanese players is they want to play with the LA Angels, or they want to play
Right.
with the LA Dodgers. So the interesting thing will be is, will the guys from the West Coast or the guys from your area in there, will they say, nah, I'm not really all that fired up over this. I don't really want to go because now I'm away from my family in two time zones. And how is that going to work into effect?
You have a well. I would love to do this. I think part of what makes it appealing to me is I believe I know there's an appetite for it. I mean, we played over in Berlin and with the Miami Dolphins. I played in Japan, and then the World League we played in Frankfurt, and the people were passionate, and we had great crowds, and there was a huge interest in it. And for me, I just think it would be you kind of the new shiny object, and I just I just think there would be a lot of interest in the teams, and I just think it would be so much fun. Do you ever see the potential? They even mentioned the idea of having a Super Bowl in London. I know that the NFL's floated that before. Would that make sense to do that even now? Like before they even had expansion, would you ever put a Super Bowl over in a city in Europe?
I would think that if the owners could get enough money out of the deal, they would put it on Mars if they had to, if they made enough cash out of it. So yeah, I could definitely see them doing something like that. They wouldn't even think twice about it if there was enough money involved in it. There's just not enough money involved in it right now, because each city and each owner wants a Super Bowl, in
Right.
Cleveland or in Chicago, or, we're talking about dome stadiums, and that would lead to an opportunity to have a Super Bowl. Believe me, when it comes down to it, it's economically driven. That's all.
How much of a push is there with the league? Speaking of dome stadiums, creating places where the environment, it's all the stadiums are natural grass, they're all indoors, so weather never has an impact on the game, so everyone's essentially playing on a level playing field. Is that something that the NFL is really pushing for, or because they never really seem to be that way, and it certainly would make a lot. I know as a player I would have absolutely loved this, going from Miami to Buffalo or New England or whatever is not a really fun thing to do in January. And it's not really a fun thing to do if you're from like Green Bay or Pittsburgh and you go to South Florida in the summer and it's just stifling hot, those early season games. We used to make the opposing teams wear their dark colored jerseys just to make it even hotter for them. Do you see the NFL like going to demanding all these stadiums have grass and that they're climate controlled no matter what the temperature is outside?
Well, if Commissioner Goodell stays in office, I could see that happening, because he only cares about one thing: offense. He does not care about defense. He wants total offense.
Man after my own heart.
So the more offense that he can have, I mean, we've restricted every rule in the book against defenses. So he certainly wouldn't like the 84 Bears, I can tell you that. So, could I see this? I think it's evolving now. I think you're seeing it. We just haven't seen it on a particular basis. The fact that the Bears are talking about doming their stadium, that would have been heresy back in the day. And the fact that, Buffalo is now having, their stadium is going to, have some features for fans and things like that. It's just a matter of time before, they claim that we're getting weaker as a society, that we don't like to be outdoors anymore.
Right.
And
It's true.
they could be right, but so I could see what you're talking about. Absolutely.
So all I'm interested in is my retirement at this point in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's a collective bargaining agreement. I guess what it comes up in 6-7 years, something like that, maybe 8. I don't know. And the league is doing extremely well. What are some of the things that could kind of curtail the enthusiasm and the success and the excitement about NFL football?
Well, I think there's several parts to that whole thing. By the way, your executive director made $3.6 million last year, so it's not like that there isn't some leeway there in terms of the guys making the right moves. There's an idea afoot to go to 18 games, which means more money again, and I just think that overall, and the players want their piece of the pie. The thing that could curtail it most is like eventually, when does the air go out of the evaluation of the team? I mean, a team in Baltimore, which was paid for by $583 million, is now, they're saying, is worth $4 to $5 billion. So who's going to take that from Steve Bisciotti when he sells his team? The fact that you have 4 or 5 owners that are 80 and above, who's taking that team from them? Who's going to have to be able to come across money-wise? So you're looking at consortiums, which means sometimes you're looking at private equity, which means now you're kind of changing the dynamic of the whole process. So it'll be interesting to see, how they change the rules. You see, they now have a lot more liberal rules when it comes to borrowing on your franchise, because you're going to have to.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see, as we go through this process, eventually, how much more can TV, how much more can all the different mediums that are coming into play? Eventually, like I said, we used to tease us all the time about watching a game on your phone. Well, now you can do it. So when do we get to the point where technology is such that you can't go anymore? And then at that point, I think the air comes out of the balloon. I just haven't seen it yet, and hopefully we won't see it for a little while longer.
So I will take my retirement, I think, in 8 years. So can we hold off? Is there enough air in the tire, Tony, that I can hold out for 8 more years?
Well, the hope is that when they negotiate this new deal, which will be sooner than later, because we're going to go to 18 games.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they will take the money that you got credit for back in the older days and move it up to the amount of money that we're doing today, because the players now get $850 a year,
right?
$850 a year per month. Well, the older players get $250 per month. So we should take care of that inequity. I mean, the game, like you said, is certainly profitable enough that we should be taking care of the players. The unfortunate thing is that the leadership of the NFLPA believes that they don't represent you all; they represent only the current players.
Right.
And I told the president of the NFLPA the other day, well, you went from being a current player to a past player very quickly once you got cut. which was like 2 months ago. So now you're a former player. Do you still feel the same way? I mean, at some point there's only 15,000 of you over there. It's not like we're have an unlimited pool.
I wanted to. Oh man, there's so much I want to talk about. So let's say you have a player, you represent a player, and you represent a really good one, right? A very popular player. They're talking about flag football in the Olympics. The NFL's kind of behind this. They're trying to make concessions to help this with absentee from training camp and all that because the Olympics go on during training camp. If you're an agent, would you encourage and would you want one of your star players playing in the flag football Olympics or in the Olympics for flag football?
You must have been at the breakfast this morning. I got the same question asked to me. That's a very interesting point. I believe that guys really want to play for their country.
Yeah.
And the concept is such, you definitely could get hurt. There's no question about it. But does this go back to LeBron James when he called up all his buddies and said, "You'll play on the Olympic team with me"? I think you're going to see the same thing with the NFL. Maybe a guy like Mahomes doesn't care as much. He said, it's not a big thing for him. But there are a ton of guys that would like to play for the United States. So, and there are a ton of guys who would like to play for their own countries, especially the African guys have talked about it. So I believe that, you're going to probably end up with Lloyd's of London with some kind of coverage.
Yeah.
It'll probably come from USA Football, and you'll probably end up with some, situation with the team, in terms of the guy gets hurt. But I believe there's going to be a lot of guys that want to play. I just don't see where, a lot of skilled guys won't want to step up.
Do you think it's kind of one of those things where if they have all these great players playing, it's like, well, you better win then, like because it's like basketball. If you don't win, just move to another country, don't come back. Well, you see that happening.
I can do. The embarrassing thing all the time is with the United States is, we naturally just think that we're the best at everything.
Right.
So, we're definitely, you're definitely going to have have people complaining if they don't win. Are you kidding me? You didn't win this. And if we don't win the first year, let me tell you something. There'll be some unbelievable NFL players that'll play the second time.
Right.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be really interesting to see. Like you said, it's totally different. Flag is totally different.
It is.
Than what we do here. So it's going to be really interesting to see, who makes it and who doesn't make it. If I'm the NFL, I'm putting together 4 or 5 training camps where if a player wants to play, that they teach them all the rules and everything else like that. And even a little bit of the conditioning that's a little bit different than flag. I mean, you got a lot of guys pulling hamstrings and everything else trying to grab that flag. How do you do that? And how do you do it in a good way? I mean, we've got some unbelievable athletes, but like I said, they haven't played it. They play a totally different game.
I would have wanted to have done this. I really would. I talked to Herman more about it. He said, no way. He said, that's not football. He said, I'd never do that. But I would love to do it. So sign me up.
I think you would have been very good at it. And I think that, the way the rules are and the way the situation is and your height and all that, yeah, I would think that, you'd be a welcome addition. I would think so. So, yeah, I could see. And like I said, I believe you're in the majority. I believe there's a ton of guys that have wanted to play and will want to play.
I think it'd be fun to watch. Okay, I don't know why this popped into my head, and I actually sent you a text message. Does the NFL ever blackball players?
Well, you know what? I don't think anybody blackballs, but the thing is they do look at the pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened to Antonio Brown. I mean, I
Right.
don't think Antonio Brown is blackballed, but I think the fact that he walked out on the team in the middle of the game, I don't think anybody would give him a chance again. I mean, that's just the way it works. And and like I said, if a guy has not been, you know, or has some issues, I don't think they want that problem. I mean, there's just I don't care how good the player is. I mean, I'll be interested to see if Henry Rugg gets out of jail, whether he'll be a guy that someone goes after. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously he's still talented, he's young enough, but it all depends. I would think, and I would think that I'm not so sure that a team wants to take that on that responsibility.
Right. Well, I've been blackballed by the NFL simply because I'm too old. They just won't have me anymore. They've had it with me. And so I no longer am available for their services. So I'm not offended by that. It's fine. I can live with myself.
Well, I think that like everybody else, you get to be a certain age and they start looking to replace you. And it's
Yeah.
actually younger, Scott, when you were involved than when you were involved. I mean, those guys now, because of the concussions, because of all the lawsuits and everything else like that, I believe that they want to get rid of a player quicker than they've ever wanted to. And I believe that eventually the careers will be down to 6 to 8 years.
Well, yeah. And the player goes, it's fine. I make a lot of money in 6 or 8 years. So it's probably not a bad thing. All right,
Correct.
Tony, we got to take a break here. It's always good to chat with you, and just really appreciate it. Above that, it's just good to hear your voice, and have a great day in Baltimore. And eat some crab cakes for me if you would.
Sounds good. I will do that. You enjoy now.
All right, be good. All right, there you have it. Tony Agno, long time NFL agent, and one of the best, if not the best, in the whole business. So fun to get his thoughts on a lot of things in the NFL that we talk about on our show. The news of notes in the NFL is coming up next. Lots to talk about there on the Down and Dirty here with Scott Mitchell on ESPN 792.1 FM. All right, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty here with Scott Mitchell on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. So glad you could join us today. Fun show, a lot of fun. It's really fun talking to Mr. Tony Aganone. He's a good dude. So, anyways, let me tell you, I've known Tony a long time, and we've had some great conversations through the years about everything. Let me tell you about Clear. The nose is where bacteria and viruses enter the body. Nearly 75% of the visits to primary care physicians in the U.S. are related to upper respiratory issues. We can bring that number down significantly if we start washing our noses. Wouldn't it make sense to wash our nose with something that blocks viral and bacterial adhesion? I would think so. Clear Inc. relies on scientific research to provide innovative, effective paths towards health that are less expensive and more accessible. For more information on their products and how they can help you, check out clear.com. All right, NFL News of Notes is happening right now. So, oh boy. Well, let's start with Frank Ragnow. The Detroit Lions center retired from the NFL at the age of 29. And, and it was funny that we had this conversation with Tony. If I had a little bit more time, I might have asked him about this specific question. But just because it's like 29 is pretty young. The Detroit Lions have arguably the best offensive line in the NFL. A lot of it's because of Frank Ragnow. He's a first-round draft choice, Pro Bowler, but a great offensive line and a really good football team. I mean, this is a team that a lot of people thought would be in the Super Bowl last year and still feel is one of the top teams in the league right now. That's a hard one. That's a hard thing to do, is to just retire at such a young age. And, you have to wonder all of what goes into it. And, when you're an older person like me and someone who's played in the NFL for the time that I did, and you have some space now between the time you played and when you're retired, you're like, man, I wish I could go back. Or, my advice to people is just play as long as you possibly can, because you can never do it again. It's not like, hey, I'm going to take a sabbatical for 10 years. Then we'll get back at this again. And it's like, no, they don't really care. They're not going to, it moves on. Your body has a shelf life of how long you can actually do it. And you just kind of move on. And everyone has injuries. Like, everyone has a reason to go, oh man, I don't know that I can do this another year. In fact, one of the things I think was shocking to me, it actually came out recently, was Joe Montana actually regretted retiring, I think, after the 93 season, with the 92-93 season with the Kansas City Chiefs, somewhere around there. And he goes, I had been injured, and I felt like it was kind of time to go, and I got away from it a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute. I wished I would have stuck around a little bit longer. And that was a guy who's super accomplished, one of the best of all time, had a long career, and then it was time to go. And then you're seeing players like Aaron Rodgers now, who's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And it's a hard discussion. It's a hard decision to have, and it's hard to have at different points during the off season and during your career, for that matter. And it really tugs at you a lot. I mean, it's agonizing, because you pretty much know that when you pull the plug on it, like I said, you don't get to go back. You don't get to go back, and you really miss it when it's a really hard transition. People think, you're young, you have a lot of money, you can go do whatever you want. And that's a fun thing for about 2 weeks. In fact, I remember when I retired, And of course, mine was different. Mine was like, yeah, we're done with you. 12 years. Yeah, see you later. And so I lived in a house that had a swimming pool, and I lived in Central Florida near Disney World, and I lived on a lake that was connected to about 10, 11 other lakes. And they called it a chain of lakes. And I would get up in the morning and go out on my boat with my dog, and we go fishing. And it was fun. It was awesome. I come home, because it's warm in Central Florida, jump in the swimming pool, cool off a little bit. I lived on a golf course, and I went and played golf. Had lunch, came home, got back in the pool, threw my kids around in the pool for hours, had dinner, went back, and went fishing. And I did this every day. Every day. And I kid you not, after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, this is boring. Like, it's fun, but it's also boring. And the other challenge you have is, like, you're 35, you're just 29. And you go, well, who am I going to hang out with? And so you end up, and which is what happened to me. You end up hanging out with the retired guys, the normal age retired guys. So I hung out with guys that had retired from AT&T, and a couple other retired NFL players, and which was fun. We had a golf game we played every Wednesday, and really, for me, where life got exciting after I retired. In fact, the moment I realized that I was done playing football was one of the toughest days of my life, quite frankly. It was really hard. Like, I was like, I actually, so I played 12 years. My contract had ended, and I thought, okay, well, I'll keep playing. And I didn't. But you had to keep yourself in shape. So there were a couple teams that were interested, and I thought, I might go to one of these teams. It didn't pan out. And I figured, well, there'll be a quarterback get injured, and so they'll need someone during the season. So that whole season, I just worked out every day. And then the next season came, and same thing. A couple teams interested, but no one pulled the trigger. So I work out for another offseason. So 2 straight off seasons. I'm working out. I'm keeping myself in shape. And I get into the third season. And I'm probably 4 or 5 weeks into the NFL season number 3 after I've retired, and I'm like the kid in, The Sixth Sense, where I see dead people. Like, I was dead. My career was over, but I didn't see it yet. And it took me 2.5 football seasons after to really come to terms with it. And as I started to work out, that's what I realized. I go, no one's called for 2.5 years. Give it up. And I just sat on the ground at this place where I worked out and on the grass, and I just cried for a good half an hour, just realizing that the thing that I loved, the things that I grown up, the dream that I had watched become a reality was over. And it scared me to death. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Like, I really don't, because this is all I've done, all I've known. And I realized after some time that it was the only thing I couldn't do. I couldn't play football, but there were a whole lot of other things that I could do. And that really kind of changed my perspective, gave me a lot of hope about my future. And so I just, and it was fun. And I've had a tremendous experience in my life post football. And what I'm doing now, I never ever in a million years thought I'd be on the radio talking about how I retired from the NFL. But I'm really grateful to be able to do it, and I love it. I love sharing this experience. I love sharing my insight. I love talking to these people, talking about all this stuff. And just like retiring from the NFL is a brutal thing. It is brutal, no matter the circumstances. In fact, I would rather be in Frank Ragnow's position where he goes, I can't do it anymore. I physically cannot do this anymore. And I would much rather be in that position. And I would much rather be there simply because for me, it was just like 1 year they signed you and the next year they didn't. And there was no explanation other than I just don't want you anymore. And so it's agonizing. I much would rather have some injury that just said, nope, you cannot do this anymore. It would have been a much easier transition for me. So you make the transition, but Tony brought up some great points about, the league is so concerned about issues with health, with concussions, with some of the challenges, some of the things that players run into, that they're just like, yeah, we don't want to assume that risk. And so, they're making it, even this whole flag football push, I think, is something to go. We would rather have players come into our league who haven't been in contact sports since they were, 5, 6. We'd rather have less potential for injuries. I'm sure that's why the NFL's so behind flag football. So fascinating challenge. Now, here's another one that's really interesting. We have a sound clip, Martin, of this, Deion Sanders. So Deion Sanders is talking about how he was hurt by the pre-draft reports of Shedeur Sanders. Here's what Deion had to say. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, this is so interesting. Okay. First off, let's just go back to, well, he had 6 coordinators when he was in college. Well, whose fault is that? That's just like, it's your fault, Deion. I mean, if anyone should know that giving someone a consistent coach to coach your son and having that continuity is, it would have helped him tremendously. And you have to beg the question, why did he have 6 coordinators? Why did someone not want to stay on the job? Why did someone know that I've got Shedeur Sanders, and if he's a pro and if he's so good, why do I want to stay here and be around all this? To me, that's a massive red flag. As 6 coordinators, and you're the same head coach, and you've had the same player, and you're in college, and I know he got rid of guys for what, and why did he get rid of them? Because his son didn't like him. And if you're an NFL guy, you're going to be like, yeah, this guy is going to come in and tell us who we're going to have as our coordinator and who we aren't. But to really help your son, don't change your coordinator every 2 months. Like that did that just in of itself, right? And I interviewed Shedeur Sanders, and I was like, this kid is full of himself. And there were comments and there were statements that he made that just made my eyebrows raise. And it's like, it's like there's a circus that comes along with him. There's a bit of he's a prima donna. He can't help but be at one. He just doesn't have Deion's talent. So this is, it's kind of sad to me to hear this, quite frankly, because it's not heaped in reality. And I'll be the first to admit, we have blinders. We have a blind spot when it comes to our kids. We think our kids are the most amazing thing that's ever happened in the entire world. We think they can do no wrong. We see them from a different lens. We don't see them from an objective outside let me just give you the perception of things, because in the NFL, the perception of you is the reality. That's what everyone goes on, is how you're perceived. It's not necessarily how you really are or how you think you really are. It's how they think you really are. And you have to work to create that perception in people. And so, yeah, when you show up to things, when you say things, when you have a certain attitude about things, that becomes the perception of you. And when you're not a great talent, which that's what Shedeur Sanders is, it's like you're a dime a dozen. And that's the way the NFL looks at it. And great, if he gets an edge from this, and he gets Tom Brady, but Deion Sanders never had an edge. Deion Sanders was never mad at the world. He was too freaking good. Deion Sanders' edge was, I'm awesome. Like, it's not like, oh, you hate me, you don't think I'm any good. No, Deion was like, I need the world to heap praise on me because I'm so amazing. There was no edge. That was his edge. His edge was the polar opposite of where Tom Brady came from. And it worked, but it wasn't the same thing. So come on, Coach Prime. Come on, see it for how it really is. Okay, we move on. Oh man, this is a good topic. So, but we're gonna take a break, and we come back. We're gonna talk a little bit about where would be the best European city for the NFL to land. This is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 791 FM. All righty, sports fans. Thank you for tuning in today. Love the show, man. A lot of fun. I love when I get to talk to my good friend, Mr. Tony Aganoni. He's from the old world. So Tony is Italian. He's from New Jersey. But if you would look at him and go, nah, no. He's somebody's accountant. He's not anything like, he doesn't look anything like Joe Pesci. Or any of those guys. But yeah. In fact, I remember one time we were in a restaurant, and it's called Lino's, and it was in Detroit. And he goes, and why he did this? He goes, see those guys over in the corner? He says, they're mafia. And I'll never forget this. And you can see how they're sitting. He says, that's how I know they're mafia. Anyways, but he's the furthest thing from a mafia person in the world. But because I don't associate with known gangsters. Come on. Here's something I thought was funny. Before we get into our European cities that I would most like to see the NFL go to. And maybe you can chime in if you want. I'll give you the cities. In fact, I'll give you the cities right now, but I'm going to tell you this funny story. So of these 4 cities, London, Dublin, Paris, or Barcelona, we got to have a German city. Let's go Berlin. We're going to have 5. I don't care. Berlin. Of those cities, which one would you like to see the most from an NFT? So start. Before we get to that, Max Homa, who, by the way, was in the top 10 in golf. Like he was ranked in the top 10 a year ago. He does scorch the earth. Gets rid of his coach, gets rid of his clubs, gets rid of his caddy, and now he's trying to qualify for the U.S. Open, which is the U.S. Open next week. Oh, it's Father's Day. Yes, of course it's on Father's Day. Wow, it feels like we just got through the PGA. So the U.S. Open is coming up in golf, and he was trying to qualify because he's trying to change his swing, change his coach, change his whole life. He goes to a qualifier, 36 holes, and he has to slug his own bag around. Doesn't have a caddy. He's not going to get one. What's going on in Max Homa's head? Like, this guy feels like, I don't want anybody. I don't need anyone. I'm going to do this all on my own. And he has an opportunity to qualify. So he's on a par 5 and 2. And all he's got to do is 2-putt birdie, and he's in. He's in the U.S. Open. And he 3-putts for par. And he gets into a playoff. And he goes 2 playoff holes, and he loses to Cameron Young. And then he goes again and loses out on being an alternate. And you have to wonder, like, golf is so hard because there's so many opportunities. If I could have just found one shot somewhere in 2 rounds of golf that I could have, made something happen. And he had some, kind of easy errors. But you just have to wonder, like, man, I hope he knows what he's doing. Or I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard a professional golfer caddying for himself. Could you imagine the conversation? Well, hold on. Let's back up. Let's think about this right here. I think you should hit the 8. And he says, no, I think I should hit the 7. What are you talking about? I'm not going to hit the 8. Could you imagine the conversation going back and forth? She says, this shot requires a little bit of a draw. He said, no, it does. I'm going to cut this ball right in, keep the ball, who are you? Well, I'm you, but you're me, and you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I just think it'd be the funniest conversation in the world to talk to yourself and be your own caddy. Like, I think you'd get in your own head if you did that. All right. European cities that you would most like to see get an NFL team. So London, Dublin, Paris, Barcelona. You have to say Barcelona is it's what I think is the correct accent. So, and it's just fun to say it that way. Barcelona. So oh boy. Okay, here I think London might be the main choice for people, only because I think it's got the biggest stadium, it has the biggest fan base. I'm just going to tell you though, Germany, for me, I had multiple experiences in the NFL with Germany, and both of them were really good. And we got to play in the Olympic Stadium, which was famous in 1936. Jesse Owens blew away the competition, and Hitler walked out. And so it's got a massive history to it. The German people, wonderful people, and they would get behind the league. Now, I think you might be better off in Eastern Europe, though. Can we Prague? Let's go to Prague. You know what? Prague is my team. Because you imagine the Eastern Europeans, think of the basket. Think of Jokic. Jokic is my guy. All right, they're telling me I have to go, and I'm not going. This is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 700-921 FM. Hope you have a great day. And until then, we'll see you then. Sean O'Connell is up next.